All right, so we're back again with another edition of We Need to Talk. And this time I have a really cool, deep, down to earth person that I've vibed with from the beginning, from the first time I met her. I met her in Atlanta over the summer. And like I say, I don't take to too many people right away. But the conversation that we had was very good. And I told her when I met her that I would have her on the show. So this afternoon I have Milan. How are you doing, Milan?
I'm good. Good, feeling good. A little tired from last night, but I'm good. Can't complain. It's another day. Blessed to be here, you know. So,
There we go. Halloween was a good time. Always a good time. Yeah. So,
absolutely.
so in starting, I'll start off. So, who is Milan?
Um, not gonna lie to you, brother. The first thing that came to my mind when you asked me that question was what my name means, and it actually stands for soldier.
Okay.
And and I'm thinking about everything that I've went through and triumphed through, and sometimes some failures as well. And I just to sum it all up, I would say I'm a soldier. You know, um, I guess we can go back to the born and raised in Virginia. Travel for most parts of my for the most part of my life. Excuse me.
Mhm.
Um, Military baby, wasn't been all around the world, seen a lot of things, but never really had it easy. If that makes sense.
Okay.
My parents, and still hard work. Um, when when I hit 18, it was time to get out. And figure
Okay.
it out on your own. And at some points I appreciate that, but other points I wish I would have gotten a little bit more knowledge before they said, "Hey, there you go, figure it out." But definitely, to sum that all up, I would definitely say soldier.
So, okay. So leaving at 18, you think if you would have stayed longer, maybe till 20, maybe 21, do you think that that would have prepared you better, or is it just some things that you felt you wanted to, you wanted to know or you wanted to do before you left home?
Mm, when you're 18, you want to leave, get out the house. You think you're grown. So I guess I didn't know what I wish I would have known back then. But I guess and that goes back to me saying I'm glad that they did. Tell me, hey, it's time to go because I figured out a lot. But there are some things that I wish I would have known. Prior to leaving, like credit and things like that, opposed to finding things like that, on your own, or in real life situations, you start to learn more about it. So that's one of the things I harp on now. Now that I'm older, I like to spread knowledge when it comes to credit and building financial wealth, and it's very important to surround yourself with people that you want to be around, like
Hmm.
where you want to be in life. So I'm big on that. Can't tell you, I don't think I have any friends of mine that are actually my age.
Okay.
Maybe two or three, but everybody's 30,
Older.
40. So um, I think that's where it is, brother.
I mean, but that's a good thing to keep older. Well, as long as it's the right people around you, it's always good to have older company around because we can, point out different pitfalls and stuff. And it's not to say that we can't learn something from you, but at
Yeah.
least that way we could say, hey, I wouldn't do that. I had a similar experience here and there. And then, like I said, you carry yourself older, meaning
Mm-hmm.
like you can handle yourself. Like if we're having a conversation, it's not like we're gonna sit there and talk love and hip hop, the whole conversation. We can have a worldly conversation and it not
Right.
feel like, we're talking over your head or anything like that. So that's a good thing. Um, so as far as your travels and stuff in different places that you live, where are some of the places that you've lived?
Virginia, Florida, Texas, London. Um, where else? North Dakota. Uh, those are the major cities I remember. Oh, Louisiana.
Yeah. So so North Dakota, I don't think I've ever heard anybody really, bring up North Dakota. So how was that stay in? or at least for you, your stay
I
in North Dakota?
I can't say because I was a baby.
Oh,
We left there at 3 when I was 3.
okay. Have you
I just
ever wanted to go back and take a look and see what what it's like now that you're older? Or
absolutely. I think about that all the time. That's actually where I want to own some land.
okay,
Um, I that's it's funny you mentioned that question because I was wanting to get more into my culture. Like
okay,
apparently, I was told that I was like partially Kashatu Indian, and I have no recollection of what that is.
okay.
I just want to kind of get into that piece of me and where that comes from, who they are, things like that. You know, so
But yeah, I mean that's good to always know. And like I said, it could be, sobering. It could be now well of knowledge for you to like you said, look deeper within yourself and see what is what. And maybe that could explain why you are the way you are, meaning so down to earth and mellow and everything.
yeah.
It could definitely be that. So so in your bio, I know we spoke before coming on, and you were in the military. Now, what branch of the military were you in?
The United States Army.
Okay, and was that?
Been in. What were you saying?
Oh, no, no, no. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, just re-enlisted about 6 months ago for another 4-year contract. Don't know why I did that now, but in the in the beginning, I was like, gotta make my parents proud, do something different, get to that. I told my dad I was gonna beat him, and where I, try to beat him where he excuse me, I'm getting distracted, but and jumbled, but he retired as E9. I said I wanted to beat him, see if I can get to E10 or. But that was one of the goals why I stayed in, and two because it was always a backup plan if plan A didn't work. But
Okay, so coming out of high school, was it? I know you said it, kind of following in the family footsteps. So coming out of high school, was that your goal to go to the military, or was that your plan B?
mm, what's crazy is that I never really thought about going to the military until everything went south for me. It just was. I always saw myself joining, getting a degree in criminal justice, going the police force field, and getting into the FBI, maybe even the
Okay.
CIA. But that was always my dream, my first real dream. And then after that, the military came when everything went south. So
Okay. So in your time in the military, what would you say was the hardest thing for you? Was it meaning, um, was it being a female in the military, or was it PT? Like, what do you think gave you your biggest obstacle, or something that you weren't really prepared for?
mm, when I went in the military, a lot of people were against homosexuality.
Hmm.
It was very, very covered my
Okay.
first year in the military. Um, so I guess that was one of the biggest obstacles, knowing when to be comfortable or show your true self. And then after a while, I just stopped caring. But the first year, yeah, they were really strict on no homosexuality. But then I guess maybe at 17 they changed the rules and started getting more
Hmm.
open with everything. But that was probably the biggest obstacle. Physical fitness wasn't really that hard once you got in shape. But as far as mental, that would definitely be the mental piece for me.
Okay. And do you think it would the initially going to do well once they changed the rules? Was the biggest adjust Do you feel that the biggest adjustment was more for you, or more for the your fellow soldiers, in terms of them being against homosexuality and stuff? Who do you think that had the at least from your vantage point, do you think it was for you, just like you said, being you and remaining who you are, or do you think it was them sort of just letting you be who you are?
You saying who do you think the turn?
Be-
Who did it benefit more? Is what you're asking?
no, 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 meaning, who do you think had the biggest adjustment? Was it a big adjustment for you to, for you to be you, or do you think it was more the people I don't want to say conforming, but just being comfortable around you? Who do you think had the biggest adjustment period?
The people around me. It was like they looked at me like I was an alien at first, or, or because the one you get the most is, oh, you're too pretty to be a
Hmm.
be in a homosexual relationship, and I never understood that, but still don't understand it to this day. But I guess it's not for me to understand, But um, definitely them. I didn't, like I said, at some point I stopped caring. I didn't care the eyes I got, the looks I got, the promotions I got turned down for,
Hmm.
for that, but because it was me living my truth, so I didn't care,
That's and that's the most important thing is, and I think even especially, there's only a couple years ago, and it sounds crazy to say back
Mm-hmm.
then, but even a couple years ago, people needed to hear or see that is that, you not caring and you being you. And it
Right,
wasn't to be defiant, it's just you living your truth and not trying
right.
to be somebody else, because I agree with you. I think that's stupid for somebody to say you're too pretty to be. I'm like, okay, so what, only unattractive women are.
Right,
It's just
right.
it's just stupid. So as far as so how do you, I see you have the cross on. So as far as religion go, did you grow up in a religious household, or is it something that you picked up, as you got older?
Definitely. My mom was extremely religious, which is so funny, but not gonna get into that part of it. Super religious. I mean, Bible study this day. We Sunday we going to church every Sunday, regardless of who has what going on, type thing. That didn't change until I got older, of course, and then of course it's funny because now I don't even find myself as religious. I kind of look at it like a spiritual journey more than a
Okay.
religious journey now. And maybe that's my own opinion. I think that's a whole nother topic, but I
Mhm.
don't just being older and seeing what church is, and to hear the pastors still talk about how they need buildings funded, these same buildings for the past 20 years, it just, to me, I'm like, okay. And so how real is what we're being taught?
Mhm.
So, but again, I don't want to offend anybody. I just, my personal opinions have swayed me to just being more spiritual than religious, and going to church faithfully. But if anybody tells me, hey, if my girlfriend wants to go to church, or my parents, or it's an Easter Sunday, of course I'm always down to go. I just don't think um, that's more. I don't think I would push my kids to go that direction. I definitely want them to know who Jesus is, and understand their roots of religion. But I don't think it's something I'm going to push on my
Mhm.
kids if that's not what they want. So
Yeah, I mean, I think it's best for us to introduce it to them, and as they get older, allow them to make that decision, for themselves. Because I
right,
think just like anything else, the more you try to force them into something, the more they're gonna pull away from it and
right,
make bigger mistakes. And I totally feel you on the, it's not so much a religious thing, but a spiritual thing.
hmm
Because like I said, there's so many, I don't care what religion you're a part of, and like, I mean, I could offend somebody by saying I agree with religion. So I'm not,
right,
I don't even say, I don't want to offend anybody. If you're offended, you're offended. It is what
right,
it is. But I mean, but I agree with you when it comes to the spiritual, being spiritual and not so much religion, because and I don't want to get too far off topic, so I'm gonna
right,
just finish this point, and I'm gonna go back to what we were talking about. But I'm of the opinion that I don't care what you study, Baptist or any, Seventh Day Evangelist. I think that you could pull something from every religion
hmm
and make it work. So, when people say, "Oh, well, my God," and go, "It's one God." I don't care what you believe in.
Right.
We're all praying to, just because we're taught something,
Exactly.
I go to church on Saturday, you go to church on Sunday. We're
Right.
still praying to God. So it
Right.
is what it is. Okay, back to what we were talking about. But but
Okay.
as far as, so how did your parents take to, when you spoke to them about, about your sexuality and thing? And I don't want to turn this whole talk into that, but
It's okay.
they did they take to it being that, that they were super religious, or was it a odd conversation for you?
All right, brother. So mom, she went, off the deep end with it. You started getting the holy water and the cross on the forehead in the morning. She went nuts. My father was more on the understanding side.
Okay.
I think he was just happy that I wasn't bringing babies home. He's like, well, I mean, it may just be a phase. Let her go through it. But
Mhm.
my mom definitely was off the deep end. We actually it took us about maybe 4 or 5 years to get back to where we were. As we with me growing up in the household because we really did fall off like hard, you know.
Uh-huh.
But we're cool now. It's a work in progress. I'll say
Okay.
that.
And I think that the goal for any parent is just to see their child happy. So
Yeah.
hopefully that, that was the goal. Okay, so we'll leave that topic alone because I don't want the conversation to go all the way down that road. But so as far, so like I said, in reading your bio, you were talking about entrepreneurship.
Mm.
But what is your goal for your entrepreneurship, or what do you like to do with, what is your thing as far as the entrepreneurship goes?
For a long time, brother, I was stuck with that because I was the person who didn't give a damn. Excuse me
No, no, you
for
good.
when it came to a hustle. I didn't care what I had to do. Like I've done probably the swampiest of the swampiest jobs to the most corporate job I could get. And I think about everything, and I'm like, I just don't care whatever it's going to take to get me to that point. But saying all that to say, I sat back maybe 2 months ago and realized that my connect my hiatus or my talent is me networking with people,
Okay.
and because of my aura that you spoke about,
Hmm.
it just it's they gravitate. Of
Yeah.
all ethnicities, all backgrounds, all statures. I mean, millionaires.
Hmm.
To people who making 30 grand a month. Like, um, so that was something I ran with, and now I'm to a point where I'm like, well, maybe I can start public speaking, or maybe I can build up a connection site where people a networking site, where people get mixed and mingled in with people that they would have never expected to get mingled with. Um, so I'm at that point. I don't know where I want to take it, but I know now that I know what my talent is, it's like, okay, what are you gonna do with it now? Just
Okay.
trying to figure out my lane.
So has 2020 helped you tap into that more?
Oh
uh,
yeah.
tap, really work on it, because I know, and it's not about me, but I know for in 2020 it helped me do this
Yeah.
podcast. It helped me start my production company and stuff like that. So how did 2020 really help you sit down and go, you know what, I can really do this?
Absolutely. I left a job where I was making $8,000 a month, but I had to bust my ass to do it. And
Okay.
to me, working 60 hours a week to bell to bell, blowing your back out, your knees out, just to make ends meet wasn't it for me.
Mhm,
And then of course, I worked in the automotive industry.
mhm,
That's not a guaranteed business. So that 8 grand a month sounds nice, but you had to bust your butt to get it every single month.
mhm.
Um, who's
Oh no. All right, so we're back. We had a little glitch, but we're back on here. So we were talking about entrepreneurship, and you working in the automotive industry. So at what at what point did you see yourself saying, you know what, I want to, or I'm going to do something different?
Um, the Probably about 6 months ago, it was the day where I had again worked my butt off. I was limping around because I was literally like I had so I set goals, every month,
Hmm.
to hit this quota, whatnot, and I exceeded that quota, but I don't know, for whatever reason, I just didn't want to stop, you
Yeah.
know. And with me not stopping, I pushed my body to the bone.
Hmm.
And I said, this is not it for me anymore. I mean, and that same night, I remember like I typed in sales jobs hiring or whatever, and insurance popped up, and I'm like, whatever. I always hear about people. I've gotten recommended to do so many insurance jobs. It's not even funny. I work for so many insurance agencies, but I just blew them off because that wasn't. I didn't realize or didn't see the overall picture. And the truth is, people need insurance.
Yeah.
That will forever be a lucrative business.
Hmm.
And you're never not. How do I put this? The amount of work that we do in the insurance field is nothing compared to what automotive industry does.
Okay.
And you don't. It's not a how to. You're not working your body to the bone. In other
Exactly.
words, to make a quota.
Yeah.
It's everybody that I've met. I can't. It's like night and day, man. Like I said, the term. I don't know what led me to insurance, but I do know what led me to apply for the
Okay.
job, and I just want to change. So
Hey, I mean,
I tried something completely out of my element.
eh, you may never lie. I always tell people I never saw myself as, as working with people. And I always told myself when I was younger, I'm like, I don't, want to deal with people. And, as God or fate would have it, I end up working in a homeless shelter, helping people out. And I was, and everybody was like, you? And I was
Right.
like, I'm just as shocked as you, because I never saw myself as a big people person, but that job, helping and working with people is very fulfilling and rewarding. So I get what, when you said you get outside of yourself or your comfort zone, because I was always comfortable just not dealing with people, but now to see that, helping, the less fortunate or people that actually need your help was very fulfilling and rewarding for me. I mean, let me stop talking about myself. This is we here for you. All right, so I'm gonna tap into some of these questions, and some of them we've already answered. Um, so we were talking about wealth, and when I guess when you look up the definition of wealth, and I get it varies, but to you, what is wealth to you?
uh, Pure peace and happiness.
No, yeah.
You know what, brother? If you would have asked me this question a month ago, I would have said money. I'm not gonna lie
Hmm.
to you. But understanding who Milan is, what you asked me in the very beginning of this podcast, came with understanding what matters most, and that's your peace,
Hmm.
that's your health, and that's your love life. To me personally, but for me, if those things are in sync, everything works for Milan. The wealth, the money will come. Um, the things that I'm looking for in life start to roll in, but
Yeah.
I just didn't have those things in line. It was like everything was out of whack.
Mhm.
And I wouldn't get out of my own way. I was so stuck in my ways, and then I just finally let go and let God. And that's a real saying because I prayed and cried for an hour, maybe two, of trying to
Mhm.
get some understanding and where my life is going. Because for me to be 26 and want so much out of life, I know there's somewhere I need to be, but I just can't figure out where it is yet.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm trying different things. I'm jumping out of my element. I'm whatever just to figure out where the hell it is I need to be in life. I just haven't. I haven't reached it yet, so I'm gonna keep going. Until I figure it out.
Yeah, I mean, it'll come because, like I said, if you're trusting in the process and everything, it'll find you before you find it.
Yeah,
And like I said, and you're on that road already. But you said, the peace and just that peace of mind. Because don't get me wrong, I my wife would tell anybody I had a six-figure job, and everybody's like, "Oh, you should be happy," and I go, "It's good to have all that money, but if you're never home to enjoy that money,
right, right,
way." People say, "Oh, you could put it in the bank." It's cool. I said, "But I'm making all this money. The kids, kids got every pair of Jordans they want, all this other stuff, but I'm never around to
right.
spend that time with them." So, like you said, that peace is a big part, and that's why I was asking, what is wealth to you? Because some people go, "Oh, having $1 million." It's cool to have that $1 million, but when you got to bust your ass to get that $1 million and
And no time.
you enjoy any of it, or you don't have the time to spend with your family, by the time you turn around, the kid, oh, ESPN, by the time you turn around, the kids will be grown, and it's just like, all right, I got this $1 million, but I missed out on all of these milestones in my relationship or my kid's life, and it's just, like I said, that's the mature side that I was talking about earlier. And you is that you hit that, you found that out early. It took me took me 30 something years to figure that out. And I was just like, oh, no, no. Once I got the money, everything will be in place. I was still miserable with money.
Right, right.
Um, Let me see. One of the next questions I have for you. So in your bio, you spoke about doing spoken word. When did you when did you find that was, I guess, that when did you find out that was therapeutic for you?
It started in middle school when I was told I talked too much. So, yeah, the lady, I always got kicked out of class because I talked. So I should have known from an early age I was going to be speaking or doing something. But she told me I talked too much, so that honestly made me shut down. And with shutting down, I would put it into poetry. And then
Okay.
one day, that same teacher, she asked me to recite something that I had wrote in because she was wondering why I was so quiet because it was like a switch. I was like, "Well, you told me to stop talking." Um, and it blew her away because she wasn't expecting, this. What I was 10 or 12, maybe.
Hmm.
Kids, maybe 12. Speaking like this. Um, so after that, I got. She actually ended up publishing a book about that. I don't remember the teacher's name for God's sake, but she did publish it, and that went maybe I maybe recited that in like two or three more. What do you call it? Concerts? Probably
Okay.
that's not the name for it, but recitals maybe.
Okay.
Um, and that's probably about as far as it went. Unless it went somewhere she didn't tell me, but that's as far as it went for me.
Hmm.
But it was pretty cool. That was the breaking ground of poetry for me. When people told me to stop talking, I used it to talk in poetry. So
You let your pen talk for you. That's
yeah,
all it was. And that's very interesting because and I guess this is why we clicked the way that we did. Your story honestly sounds like mine. I never really talked a lot, but I always wrote, and I had a teacher, and I never forget her name because she was that I could remember. She was the very first person to tell me. Her name was Heather Weston. Um, and I wrote something. We had some project, and it was in the fifth grade. We had some project. I wrote something, and I gave it to her. She was like, "This is really good." And she was like, "I have a friend that has some magazine. I don't remember the name of the magazine." And she was like, "How would you feel if I got this put in a magazine for you?" And I was like, "Okay." I'm just like, whatever. So she came back and she showed me the magazine, and I was just like, I had my name on it and everything. And I was just like, oh shoot. So she was like, you should do something with this. So I wrote something else, And then me, I'm a really, really reserved and laid back person. So she asked me, "Can I do it again?" And I was like, "Nah, I didn't." So like how you shut down talking for me, I just stopped writing as much. So instead of letting people see it, because I think I showed my wife a couple years ago the very first poem that I wrote in the fifth grade. It was simple as hell, but I showed it to her. She was like, "You still have this?" I said, "Yeah, paper falling apart, but I do still. I keep this as the first thing that I wrote that I could remember writing."
Right.
It was, you know, it was good. And so, how often do you write now? Are you still writing at the same pace, or is it more now for? Just, are you writing for enjoyment, or are you writing now for therapeutic reasons?
Uh, the last time I've written something was probably because I was in a dark space.
Hmm.
I haven't written since. I think that's the only time I use, writing, or when I'm in touch with my love side or I'm trying to be romantic. But
Hmm.
I can't tell you the last time I picked up a piece of paper. But and I think, brother, that's another thing that I told my girlfriend, my current girlfriend now, that I wanted to get back to who I was, and a lot of that was me going to spoken word concerts, and
Hmm.
I would sit and talk to those people. Like I feel like a part of me was missing because I was trying to do and look like somebody that I probably never really was, but it
Hmm.
just people said this is what I was supposed to be, so I tried to fit that description all the time,
Okay.
and that's something I want to once the world back opens back up again. Definitely want to go get back into the spoken word side of things and just kind of get her introduced, my girlfriend introduced to it as well. Um, so she'll understand parts of me, and I think that'll help her understand, the moodiness of me and my emotions and the way I think. So that's
Yeah.
getting to a whole nother topic, but
Yeah. Yeah. They
yeah.
come on, we're gonna get back together and do a couples do a couples get together. We could talk about that because our significant others, they tend to misunderstand us.
Yeah.
But then, like I said, then our writing and things of that nature, it really helps them see. Because for the longest, my wife always told me that I was an emotional cripple, which sounds mean, but I mean I get it. I'm not. It took me a while to open up to her, but her and the kids, but they understand that I love them. And I'll do anything for them. But
Right.
as far as me actually expressing it, nah. And it's not that I didn't want to. That just wasn't me growing up. Um, so I think where should I go with this next question? So okay, so as far as your spoken word thing goes, is it something to where you want to get out there and you want to be on stage, or are you going more at it from setting it up and I guess being the host of it?
Mm, definitely a host. I think as far as spoken word or public speaking goes in a whole, I'd rather be speaking about, reality as a young woman, a young adult. And the generation I'm in, the time frame we're in, the way black women think, the way women think, period, the trials we go through, trials homosexual women go through, excuse me.
Hmm.
That's kind of where I'm at with it now. So I'm trying to find a lane, brother, that I can slide into and just take off with it and start speaking about those things. So I just haven't found the event yet, and honestly, I haven't gone looking. You know what? I take that back. I looked maybe a week ago,
Hmm.
and I signed up for two events, but they cut into my work schedule, so I couldn't go to either or. But that is something I do want to get into heavily.
We'll talk offline. We 'Cause I got some stuff when I heard you say that. I got some stuff rolling in my head that I'll share with you offline, so that way, so when this gets published, somebody can't steal it and go, "Well, yeah, I came up with this." No, no, no. But yeah, we'll save that for after the interview.
Okay.
But so what do you besides the spoken word thing, what's next for you? Or what do you see coming up? I mean, you got the entrepreneur, the entrepreneurship. You have the, like I said, the spoken word thing. So what's next for you? Or what would you like to be next for you?
Mm, tapping into my business, the business side of entrepreneurship, getting into that public speaking thing again. Like I'm gonna keep pushing that until you, that's because I'm real now that I realize that's my lane. I want to take off with it.
Mhm.
Um, continue to excel at my job because now that things are, at a steady pace at home, of course, happy wife, happy life. So when the home is happy, everything else is happy. So that was part of the breakdown and what was going on the past couple of months too. I was so into my own way that I couldn't control I couldn't see what was going on around me. And as soon as I got out of my own way,
Mhm.
everything started to fall in line. So,
Okay.
um, as far as the next couple of months, network, uh, try, excuse me, try and get into more of the scene with people who actually do the spoken word and public speaking. Um,
Okay.
hopefully, the world continues to open up and not shut down, so I can venture off even more because it's a little bit harder doing it on the virtual side of things.
Yeah.
People don't really see you; they just see a face on the camera. But
Yeah.
I mean, they can empathize with it, but it's not the same as it is in person. So that
Yeah.
would be my goal, man. The network is something to get. Yeah, I'm in the game, baby. I got my life back. I got my
Mhm.
wife. Relationship's good. We doing it more. No, I'm playing.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, once everything else, especially at home, when home is happy, it just makes everything else. It makes everything else fall into place.
Right,
It's all of it takes all of the strain and the stress out of it because if home is messed up, you're out at work or wherever, and the only thing you're thinking about is home. So
right, right,
once everything else is in line, everything else will just drop right in where it's supposed to be.
right.
But being since I heard you say that you want to get more into the speaking side, speaking about I guess, and I hate using the word issues, so please don't
Yeah.
take it as me
No,
saying.
you're good.
But speaking on like women's issues and things like that, what is your take on the way everything is going now? As far as I'll just use Breonna Taylor for example. Like, do you feel that women and let me let you answer. Do you feel that that women aren't getting the recognition or the coverage that they should be getting as far as because they're suffering the same way that young black men are, regardless of how anybody wants to look at it and go, oh, it's another, dead black man, unarmed black man. Yeah, you got women that are getting it at the same. It may not be the same clip, but they're getting it the same way that we are. So, do
Right,
you think that the coverage isn't where it should be for what's going on with the women?
right. Um, so for the whole Breonna Taylor situation as it stands, I think it's ridiculous.
Hmm.
Um, the fact that the killer, the killer is still on the loose.
Yeah.
I think that's insane to me, regardless of what career or profession you're in. Any human being, at some point, when is right and wrong is wrong.
Hmm.
And I have family that are in the police force, and a lot of my military friends feel, hey, this is what happened. Somebody pulled out a gun, blah blah blah. But now that the story continuously seems to have bits and pieces come out, I'm sorry. It's almost disappointing because at the end of the day, even if they say it in black and white, then yes, he killed her on purpose. It's like it's still going to be overlooked, it's still gonna go over everyone's head. We're gonna forget about it a week later. You know, it's sad to say, and life goes on until another one happens, and then we do this whole uproar again, and then it goes down again. You
Yeah.
know,
Hmm.
um, but it's for women. Period. Oh man, brother, we get the last bits of the last bits, and don't let you be a black woman. I have to work 10 times harder in my field. I'm black. I'm gay, and I'm a woman. I mean, that's three double negatives, like triple negatives, excuse me, you know? So I'm against all odds. Every career, every profession I've ever been in, I've had to work triple, I don't know, maybe quadruple times harder than the average male, even if he was black,
Yeah.
because the manager couldn't hit on me, you know? He couldn't take me out to dinner and expect to get something, you know?
Mhm.
Or he couldn't benefit from me being at the top, you know?
Yeah.
Besides me being at the top with another person, or so it's so many sides to one. It sucks. It sucks, but it's like I've always been competitive, and I know it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard at the job I'm at now, you know.
Yeah.
But I don't care, brother. I'm going to get there.
Goal.
So
I mean that's a goal, especially since you know it's going to be hard going into it versus having your head in your hand or having your head in the sand going, oh no, I'm gonna get treated just like everybody else. When
right,
we all know that's bullshit. It's just it sucks. And I always tell people I make it my business, especially on this platform, to talk about that. I told them I grew up in a house with 6 women, so I'm not of the mindset of, oh well, women are this, women are second class. No, I think that you know all, all of the incidents that are going on, there's so many women that fall fall in the crevices, and we don't get to hear about their stories.
right,
Like for example, I wish I
right.
wrote down the lady's name, but there was a young lady, I want to say maybe 3 or 4 months ago. She went out, she went to a bar or something. She was approached by a cop or whatever the case is. And I always have to put this out there, not all cops are bad. But she was approached by a cop wherever she was at. She left the bar or the spot with the cop, and she has never been seen again. And this is why I ask that question, why I make sure I bring up women's topics on here, is because it happens so often. And like I said, the young lady, and they can't find it, they haven't found her body, her car, anything. And it's just like, why aren't we getting that coverage, like we should? It
Right,
sucks. I don't care, black, white, it doesn't, race doesn't matter to me. It's just the fact that there's a missing woman out there. It's not fair to her family that she's
right,
not getting the same coverage. And then, like I said, because she's a black woman, might also lead into, well, you know, in my opinion, well, that's the reason why she's not getting the same coverage that she should be getting.
right.
Uh, so, about 2 more things for you, and then if you have anything you want to bounce off me or ask me, feel free. Like I said, it's an open forum. Um, so I don't know. Do you pay attention to the WNBA at all?
I haven't in a long time. A
Okay.
long time.
Well, the
Uh,
the reason I asked, there's a player who was one of my favorite players that went to Connecticut, Sue Bird. She put out a statement right after they won the championship, and she was saying, and in the statement, I'll paraphrase, but she was saying that the reason that the WNBA numbers are low is because there's a lot of gay women in the league, I believe is the word that she used. Don't quote me on that. But she was saying that because there are a lot of gay, lesbian women in the league, and people just can't handle that. So how do you see it? Why do you think that women's sports, especially basketball, has such a
oh
hard
man.
um, catching on with the rest of society?
I feel it's crazy. That's one of the reasons why I let my passion go. I was an hell of a ball player. my goal was to play overseas, when I was a freshman in high school.
Okay.
But I just, when I found out how much they made, I just, and the amount of grief you get, seeing it in person and seeing it on TV is two different things. And
Mhm.
women, these college ball players, they put up with a lot of shit.
Ooh,
And my cousin, she plays for UGA now. Awesome, awesome ball player, man. She's dunking already, probably about 6'3".
okay.
Her last year, I think. I'm pretty sure she's gonna get recruited, but the thing about it is she's doing all of this just to make, pennies.
Hmm.
They just increased the national average for women's basketball, maybe about I think in 19 to 250.
Yeah.
But what's 250 to a ball player making, millions to sit on the bench? I
Hmm.
think that's absolutely ridiculous. Not to mention the field and like the craft you have to play in women's to play in the women's league is insane. Like the technicalities of it. I don't know. I'm pretty sure you watch it, but it's so skilled when they play. It's not even funny. Like it's basketball now. Like with in men's basketball. I'm sorry for the background noise.
Hey, and they want your autograph. They know you're doing the interview.
um, Now in men's basketball, it's not as exciting as it used to be. Before it was like a kid in a candy store. You had a basketball player for each child. Like, oh, this is a dunker, this is the shooter. Like, now it's just straight, air to like you just the best 3-point shooter. It's not, and then you get it. They call everything. Everything's a foul. If you touch me, you sneeze. It's like okay, damn. Like what happened to basketball? So to me, I think women's basketball is more exciting. They just don't push it enough. And because no one's dunking or doing anything that anybody really truly wants to see, it's not going to get the ticket sales. Um, but I definitely when I was into playing ball, I definitely was very very upset at the the pay scale we were on. I think they should be ashamed of themselves.
Yeah.
Um, but there's people out there that truly love the game of basketball, so they're gonna still play. Those women are still gonna play, for whatever amount of money they play for, and sit on the bench. And then after that, you don't have any. It's like if you do not save your money, you're lost. You're lost cause, And then that money's not all up front. That's monthly, or
Yeah.
it's just there's so much tied into it. So if you're not a Lisa Leslie, Candace Parker, any of those, yeah,
Yeah.
what are you making?
Struggling. You're struggling. And I'm honestly of the same mindset as you. And like I said, I love yeah, I love women's basketball because as you said, they to me the fundamentals are just so superior to the men. I mean,
Yeah,
I know you have your Steph Currys and your KDs and all of that, but if you look
yeah,
at the technical side of it, like I said, the backdoor screens, the passes,
yeah.
you know, the arc when you're shooting, all that. The women do it so much better than the men.
Mhm.
I love watching, especially women, college basketball. I
Mhm.
can watch that all day. I prefer their March Madness over the men
Right.
because it's just a better game. Like I said, I'm a big UConn fan. Gino Oriema and Pat Summitt when she was alive. Those are two of my favorite teams to watch. And like I
Mhm.
said, they bring so much more to the table. And I think if people would seriously give it a chance, they would enjoy it. But I think they spend so much time hating on the game that they don't allow themselves to enjoy it. It's a much better product than they want to give it credit for.
Right.
I said now, this would have been the perfect time for it. We're in the middle of a pandemic. There's not much going on.
Right.
You could have had the WNBA all over the place instead of have us sitting in the house watching, you know, curling and all the stupidness that they put on ESPN at the time.
Right. Right.
So,
That definitely would have been worth it. You're right. Actually, it made me miss the game when they cut off all the TV shows, when they cut off all the games, and there wasn't nothing to watch but reruns of talk shows.
yeah.
Like, what the hell is this?
And then it sucked because I mean, like I said, ESPN could have benefited from that. You know, there was so much basketball out there, and that, like I said, even if it was on ESPN, you got to go to ESPN 15 to find it. And it's just like, why the hell I got to dig way down the line to find it when you're showing nonsense on the TV? But
Right.
before we go, is there anything that you know that you want to discuss?
Mm, I'm sure the more I'm almost certain this won't be the last time I'm on the show. So
Maybe not.
probably be a couple, thing going on here. So
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
I definitely have more to come, but for now, I'm good. I think that was pretty good. I'm okay with that.
Good. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I'm glad. I know it was a long time coming. We talked a while ago about doing this, and
Right.
I'm glad we were able to get it in. And I do definitely appreciate you, you know, being open and to talking about everything. Like I said, I didn't want to turn this conversation into just talking about your sexuality or anything like that. And we were able to touch on a lot of topics. So I do appreciate you being open with me
No, no
and
problem.
sharing what you've shared. But again, I appreciate your time. And like I said, this won't be the last time that you're on here. Um, and with that being said, we wrap another episode of We Need to Talk. Appreciate your time, Milan, and we will talk again soon.
It sounds good, brother. Thanks for having me.
All right.